wellbeing. So before I actually kick off, I was wondering if everybody would be okay if I took a screenshot of us all here today. I'll give you full disclosure about what is going to be done with it first before you decide whether you want to be in it. So, you know, we're really kind of trying to celebrate organisations that are taking positive steps in terms of hate crime, like arranging, you know, these kinds of sessions as well and promoting good practice. So it's really great that this session is going on today, and we're following it up with a training session as well. So it will be on social media, promotional, you know, materials as well. I'll send it to Jen as well if she wants to use it for anything internal, external, that kind of thing. So you're more than welcome not to be in it. So if you don't want to be it, just make sure your camera's off. And if for any reason you don't want to be seen to be here at all, that's no problem. You can just let Jen know after the session, just pop her a message. And what we'll do then is we'll blank out your name, you know, as well, because if your camera is off, your name will still show. But I can see lots of people have got their cameras on now for our photographs. So what I'll do, we've got 2 slides. So I'm going to count us up and then I'll take a screenshot, just because a photo of somebody talking is just like a photo of somebody eating. It's just not nice. So I'll count us up to 3 and then we can smile if you want to, whatever. And then I'll just check that we're not all blinking at the same time as well, and then we'll move on with the session. So thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to count us up. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Right, let me just check that we're not all blinking. Let's have a look. Oh, that's wonderful. There you go. I'm just going to do one more because there are 2 pages of us here today. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. Let me just check that. Oh, fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody who's popped their camera on for that, and happy to be part of that. So yeah, keep an eye out for your photos on, you know, on social media and promotional stuff too. Thank you. Like I said, if you don't want to be in this at all, just, you know, please just let Jen know, and we'll take you out of the picture. So yeah, so we've got about, you know, just under half an hour of me chatting away. So I do have some slides to show in a second. There's only, I think, about 4 of them. I don't believe in death by PowerPoint. So they are there for a purpose with a bit of key information on there. But what I'd like to talk about today really is a bit of an introduction around hate crime, but also a quick look at the hate crime charter, you know, what hate crime is itself, of course, but particularly those health impacts on people as well. And then also what's out there in terms of, you know, support, you know, practical and emotional support as well for victims and witnesses of hate crime. So it is just a short walkthrough, you know, in terms of us covering, you know, some of the topics and challenges. And as Jen mentioned, this, you know, there's question time, you know, afterwards. But like I said, it is a short walkthrough. And we do have that training session. I think it was on the 18th, you said, Jen, wasn't it? The training we got planned. And that's a 2-hour, you know, session where we just get to have a little bit more of a deep dive into, you know, into hate crime and, you know, particularly those impacts on people. And, you know, we look at some really, really interesting case studies that I think would all be actually really useful for all of you in your, you know, the type of organisations that you are. And that training is absolutely free of charge. So please do take advantage of that. If you can. And sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. I think somebody's knocked the door. He will quieten down in a second. Yeah, so yeah, introduction to, you know, to myself, so who I am. So as Jen mentioned, I'm with the hate crime team in Victim Support, and I'm the training and engagement officer, and I cover the whole of Mid and West Wales, or Dyfed Powys, if you're looking at kind of police boundaries. So I cover Carmarthenshire, Pems, you know, Ceredigion and Powys itself. And in terms of what we do as a hate crime team, I suppose we can break it down into two strands, I suppose. So the first is the National Report and Support Centre Wales, and then the other strand is the training and engagement team. We're funded by Welsh Government, so there's a kind of like I think 3 or 5 year, you know, contract is coming up for renewal, you know, again. So, you know, the team will be placed from, you know, from March next year. So hopefully it'll be us again, but we'll keep everybody posted, you know, about that. But in terms of, you know, what those 2 strands do, so the National Report and Support Centre is part helpline. So there's a, you know, there's a way to contact the team. There's a free phone number out there, etc. And then there's a team that offer the practical and emotional support. So there's an amazing team of very, very skilled victim care officers and caseworkers. So the victim care officers also man the phones, so we don't have any dodgy call centre, you know, there. So if somebody wants to access some support, or professionals like yourselves want to get some advice, you know, when you phone up, you speak directly to one of the victim care officers. And then if somebody requires some longer term, you know, support, then that's where one of the caseworkers, you know, will come in and you know, and offer their support. But you know, like I said, when you contact us immediately, you're talking to somebody who, you know, really understands with great depth, you know, what somebody's going through. The emotional and practical support, there's actually no cap on how long that might be for somebody. So if somebody's experiencing particularly long impacts in terms of their mental health, for example, it's not a 6-session deal and you're out. You know, that support is there for as long as it's actually been helpful, you know, to somebody. So obviously it's based on a model where you don't need to continually be helpful. When it starts becoming unhelpful, then it's not a place, you know, for us to be, really. So yeah, but otherwise it's, you know, kind of open-ended, as long as it continues being helpful and continues helping that person to overcome, you know, what's happened to them. So we have so that's the strand that's linked to the National Report Centre Wales, and then the other strand then is the training engagement team. And what we do, so this we cover the whole of Wales. As I said, I'm Mid and West Wales. I've got a colleague who covers the north, another who covers the south, and then another that covers Gwent. So in terms of, you know, kind of what we do is we kind of really work to raise awareness of hate crime itself, but also those impacts and, you know, the support and help that's available and the different reporting routes, you know, as well, because hate crime is an identity-based crime, so it is something that kind of hits the core of, you know, of who we are. So people's support needs can be very, very different. So the kind of things that we do then to raise awareness is we offer free training, you know, so we offer free training on hate crime and make crime. We're also quite a responsive team, so we will, you know, if there's a need in terms of you know, training that comes that links to hate crime, you know, we'll create a unit together. So we're currently creating one on antisocial behaviour related hate crime, which should be particularly useful for those people that are working in neighbourhoods, but also a kind of know your rights session for community members as well. And also, you know, we're working with all the councils across Wales as well that are supporting Afghan refugees as well, to create some kind of know your rights training for them, but also for all the professionals that are working with them, you know, with them as well. You know, in the title, you know, engagement and training. So obviously we support, you know, engagement with different organisations and community groups, community leaders, you know, etc. Basically anybody that wants to talk about, you know, hate crime, and just making sure that information and support is as accessible, I suppose, as it can be, you know, depending on that group and, you know, people with different protected characteristics, etc. But what we also do is we also support organisations to sign up to the Hate Crime Charter as well, and then supporting those organisations then to take positive practical action as part of their kind of commitment to it. And I really need to highlight PAVO really as a kind of particular piece of good practice here, because, you know, PAVO was an early sign up when we released the Hate Crime Charter last year, and it's really been an organisation that's been really, you know, authentic in their desire to create a difference and to use the charter as a lever to do that. And, you know, Jen particularly and the team has, you know, certainly offers some real leadership in terms of kind of pushing that forwards. So in terms of the charter, I'll share my screen and I can show you a picture of the charter itself. Let's look. Right, can you see that okay? Can you somebody give me a nod, yeah, if that's coming through?
Can't see it, Becca.
It's not coming at all.
No.
Oh dear, it's showing as sharing on my screen.
Do you need to be host? Would that help? Or
no, co-host, I mean, for the fact I can see the share screen button should be enough. Let me try it again. I mean, if not, I'll talk us through it and I'll send it afterwards. You know, we will not be beaten by technology. Yeah, can you see? Excellent. That's really good. There you go. Yeah, so this is the, the hate crime charter. And what it does is it sets out these number of rights for victims and witnesses of hate crime. Any organisation and group can sign up to it at all. It could be a little community group, could be a town and community council, could be a larger organisation, anybody literally can sign up to it. And what we do then is we can start a conversation about what it looks like for them, and every organisation has been different. For PAVO, they've wanted to do this. They wanted to bring hate crime information, to their networks and free training to their networks so that, organisations and frontline workers and managers are able to have a grasp of hate crime and what difference we can make, for victims. So everybody, like I said, every organisation is different. The sign up is actually literally a little form, and then, like I said, as we enter into a conversation about, what that looks like for that organisation. Some are focused on accessible information, and having that in the right place. Some have focused on internal HR policies, and they've added hate crime to their anti-bullying policies. Some housing departments have included a kind of hate within their ASB policy. It's entirely depending on what that organisation is, their size, their shape, what they need and what they're actually able to do. And then we support them to take actions, and then those, of course, that do take those positive actions then are able to use the trust mark as well on their publicity as well, and you can see that on the right hand side of the of the screen. So it's not issued to everybody who signs up, only to those that we feel are actually hitting almost like a positive steps to create a better environment for witnesses and victims of hate crime. So you will notice from my language as well that we do use the term victims rather than survivors, and this is always a question that comes up, because of course in domestic abuse services we'd be using survivor. In terms of hate crime, it very much again just relates to the legislation that's in place, etc. But when we're working with with people, some people don't like the term victim, so of course we would change that as we're talking to them, depending on what their experience is and how they feel about the term. But in terms of the service itself, it relates to the Welsh Government language and legislation as well. So yeah, so this is the hate crime chart, and as I said, anybody can sign up. So if you do think your organisation or group might be interested, you're more than welcome to get in touch, and I'll send some information to Jen afterwards as well to share with you, so you know how to get in touch if you you think you might just want to know more about the charter, or if you want to want to sign up. Again, it's completely free of charge. What we do is commissioned by Welsh Government, so it's completely free of charge to to do so. But I'm happy to take any questions, obviously, about the charter, etc. at the end as well. So I just want to, if it'll click over, let's have a look. Yes, yeah, to look at exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about hate crime, just to make sure that we're all looking at a kind of a common understanding of it, really. So there's no such thing as a hate crime, because a hate crime is an act of hate where a criminal offence has also happened. So for it to be classed as a hate crime, a criminal offence that already fits our criminal framework has to have happened as well. So whether that's burglary or harassment or assault or something like that. So when we talk about hate crime, it's about that criminal offence as well. But also we tend to, the term hate crime tends to be used as a bit of a shorthand for hate experience as well, just to confuse us all. But when somebody first, say for example, something happens to somebody and they first report it, it'll be flagged up as a hate incident. And then if a crime has been detected, as well as that hate element, then it'll be classed as a, as a hate crime. So, and there's lots of different routes to support, not just through the police, but I'll cover those a bit kind of nearer the end. So, yeah, so and also I think we need to recognise as well that even where a criminal offence hasn't happened, it doesn't feel any less harmful or impactful for the person who's experienced it if it's a hate incident, because that hate element is, like, as I mentioned, a kind of a attack on the core part of who we are, is an identity based hate related crime, so it does attack the fundamentals of of who we are. And for some victims of hate crime, it could be an attack on a part of them that they're conscious of and they've been experiencing it all their life. But equally for some other people, it can absolutely come out of the blue and be really unexpected. They didn't really realize that other people thought there was a thing, to express hate at. So everybody's experience is really really different. But what I wanted to raise, kind of in the short time that we've got today, is that when we're talking about hate experiences, it always comes from the perception of the victim, and that's regulations in police now as well, that it should come from that perception of the victim, and ideally that should overcome any bias that we see there. But yes, that perception comes from the victim, but also there's protections on perceived characteristics. So if somebody perceives you to be gay, even though you might be heterosexual, and attacks you for that purpose, you're still protected under kind of hate crime legislation as well. But it always comes from the perception of the victim. And then that motivation of hostility and prejudice. So when we're talking about hate crime, these kind of elements need to be in there, and there needs to be that motivation of hostility or prejudice, towards somebody based on the, the personal characteristics of, disability, race, religion, transgender, etc. So it's that motivation, and that can be difficult to prove, but it's also probably one of the most important bits in this kind of definition of hate crime. And that's because it's so important, when we talk about identity-based crime, for that hate element to be seen in the process and procedure, around the victim. Some of the most complicated cases that we deal with is where communication is broken down and the hate element has been removed. So there's a bit of a, an example of if, some hate crimes happened to somebody in their neighbourhood and a housing service is involved, and all the housing service has got to depend on, or lean on rather, is an antisocial behaviour policy. All of that hate is completely stripped out of the process, and this is where we see some of the most complex cases that could easily be resolved by ensuring that that hate element is is in there. We see it in workplace bullying, where there's been a hate element towards protected characteristic there. Some of the biggest challenges there is when that hate bit is ignored, and kind of invalidated on the on the part of the the victim. So and to raise that with you as a group of professionals in the room dealing with communities as well, in terms of what we see as being helpful and good practice. And certainly one of the pieces of good practice we try to promote is about recognizing that hate where it exists, because it's so important for that person. But also in terms of the judicial system as well, if that hate element has been proved and there is a crime, and if the judge is considering a custodial sentence and the judge is actually able to add a sentence uplift, a 20% uplift where where that's been proven. So it's but in terms of people's victims' experiences, focusing on their victims' experiences, it certainly is, I don't know if cathartic is the right word, but important to to have that hate element kind of represented. So in terms of what hate looks like in Wales at the moment. So these are the current stats that have been used. So the stats are updated every year, and currently as we speak, the stats are being gathered and are released during Hate Crime Awareness Week, which is the 9th to 16th of October this year. So this set of stats actually reached up to the beginning of March last year, so just pre-COVID. And as you can see, apart from religion and faith, each characteristic has gone up and up and up every single year. There's been no reduction apart from that last year in terms of religion. And when you drill down into the data, you can see, this is across the UK, you can see that, sorry, England and Wales rather, so you can see that Greater Manchester didn't submit their data, and they tend to have quite high. So there's a bit of disbelief around the lower religion stat. So we will see updated data on this very, very soon, within the next 2 weeks, in terms of what it's looked like over COVID. And as a service, we've seen, fluctuations. We've seen an increase in some of that Welsh versus English rhetoric that we sometimes see, particularly when community tensions were flaring up, and we saw that across Wales. So we have seen peaks, peaks and troughs of hate crime. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what the picture looks like, across, England and Wales when those stats are released. But unfortunately in Wales and in the whole of Dyfed Powys, we do cover the trend, and race still shows about 3/4 of of all hate crime in the area. So Jen, I can see your hand up. Oh, you're on mute.
We can't actually see the stats, Becca.
Oh, you can't see the
No,
slide. Oh gosh, okay. Well, I will definitely send it. I don't know why
we
it's
can
not.
see the chart, but we can't see the actual stats.
Okay, I've got no idea why it's not. I'm just going to stop sharing. Yeah, sorry, I've got no idea why it's not sharing properly today. But what I will do is I will. Is that not showing at all? Yeah. Okay. I will, yeah, so what I'll do is I will certainly send them over so you can see the stats. So yeah, so the kind of main, you know, message tonight is that they are increasing every year, and we do see about 3/4 of hate crime in Wales. Dyfed Powys is race rather, so race is always the highest, you know, for us, and then it tends to be sexual orientation, disability, religion and faith tends to be quite high, but also particularly transgender is quite an underreported hate crime, and disability actually, both very underreported hate crimes. So I guess we do encourage, you know, if you're working with disability groups, if you're working with transgender groups, you know, is to be the person with the accessible information, you know, and do work to make things more accessible for them, because there is, I think there's a piece of research that shows that transgender hate crime is about 70% of all transgender hate crime is underreported, so it's a huge amount. So in terms of you know, the impacts on people, so they can be quite varied. Again, you know, it's such a personal experience for people, so it's not you know, it's not a steadfast rule, this is what's going to happen if you experience hate crime, because it can, you know, certainly fluctuate depending on somebody's personal experience, you know, whether they've experienced it before, whether it's a traumatic, you know, whether it results in trauma for them, where the resilience is at that moment in time, etc. So it could be really resilient. But in terms of you know, the impacts, we see physical impacts. So if somebody has experienced a physical attack, for example, they've got that to recover from, in addition to everything else they might be going with. We certainly do see emotional and mental health impacts as one of the biggest impacts. And that can impact on the whole realm of well-being, so it can impact on somebody's sleep. We see shame and guilt as being quite a consistent, you know, impact as well. Hopelessness, particularly if somebody doesn't know where their case is. So if somebody has gone to the police and they can't, you know, they don't know where their case is, you know, the sense of hopelessness can certainly grow quite, you know, quite quickly. We can see fear growing, you know, we can certainly see depression and anxiety developing as new conditions or existing, you know, conditions getting worse, social isolation, people feeling paranoid, etc. Because it is, as I mentioned, you know, it is an identity-based crime, so it's an attack on, you know, personally who you are right at our core. So it can have quite significant, you know, impacts on people in terms of that emotional and mental health. Some short term, you know, some long term. There's no guarantee it'll turn into PTSD, but we do see, you know, certainly see cases, you know, where it has. It can really affect people's behavior as well. So somebody might start to conceal their identity, or, you know, avoid situations or avoid places, or even reduce social interaction, you know, become isolated as a whole. Some people may turn to substance misuse, or if that is an existing challenge already, that could also become more amplified as well. And we've seen it to the extent where somebody's just felt so unsafe in their you know, their neighborhood that they've moved home, you know, as well. For certainly changing routines and concealing identity that we see, you know, so maybe, for example, somebody who's LGBT, who's experienced a hate crime, might stop holding hands with their partner in public because they're afraid of being identified, you know, as somebody who's gay. So it can have, you know, real impact on people's behavior as well, and particularly children as well. So we've just launched today a report, a piece of research that we did with young people who've experienced hate crime, and it makes really interesting, you know, reading if you're involved in, you know, communities in the youth side. And what I'll do is I'll send that to Jen as well, so it's hot off the press because that's literally, you know, come out today. But we certainly see some of those impacts on the young people there. And what's interesting in that report is that there's certainly an emphasis on trusted people in those young people's lives. They're more likely, the research has shown, they're more likely to turn to somebody they've already got a relationship with. rather than a service, if that makes sense, even though there is a huge black hole in terms of services for young people. That's a conversation for another time. But yeah, the research is showing that they're far more likely to turn to a trusted person that they in their life already. That's why we think it's just so important to keep training professionals like yourselves to keep, you know, to do that knowledge share around hate crime, but to keep our skills, because we never know when we or one of our colleagues are going to become one of those trusted people as well. You know, and of course it can have a bit of a financial impact. So if, you know, somebody's property's been broken, or they need to take time off work because they're experiencing those impacts, you know, somebody might, you know, only get statutory sick pay, or they might be on a 0-hour contract, or the complications of COVID, you know, we know anything can you know, can happen in somebody's life. So it can have, sometimes it can have a huge financial impact as well. You know, but also we see this community impact as well, and this ripple effect. You know, I saw a couple of cases last year. So for example, in Lampeter, there was an LGBT attack in a public space. And I was talking to, you know, to networks and, you know, and groups and organizations up in North Powys who were feeling affected by that happening, you know, in Lampeter. And it's not happening in their area, it's not happening to them, but because they share that protected characteristic, that fear factor can grow quite quickly. So where we see high profile cases, we can certainly see that ripple effect, you know, happening in you know, in our very rural communities as well, you know, certainly. So just to kind of raise your awareness about, you know, about that aspect of it too. So in terms of what kind of support is available, you know, for us, so there is, like I said, when I send it around, there is a slide that outlines a little bit of what we do, but just to talk you through a couple of bits before we open it up for questions. You know, so there's a couple of different routes people can take to get to access, you know, help and support. You know, if you report a hate incident to the police, you should automatically be offered a referral to us, and if you do, it comes through on a, you know, that somebody's report comes through to us on a secure server, because we know people find it difficult to keep retelling a story. But also yourselves, so people like yourselves and your colleagues can refer somebody in. So we do have a proper referral form that you can request, but equally you are more than welcome just to send me an email, as long as you've got that, you know, we use a secure server because obviously we work, you know, securely with the police, and as long as you've got that person's permission to do the referral, you could just email it over, and I have dealt with a number, you know, like that, and we'll get it on the system, you know. But do give us as much information as you can, because it'll help us, you know, we do triage referrals as they come in, so it'll help us to assess how urgent it is and where it kind of sits on the priority list. So do give us as much information as you can. But also somebody can self-refer as well, so somebody can pick the phone up or email the team and make a referral. And it doesn't matter whether somebody's gone to the police or not as to whether they access our support. So that's all available for somebody if they, whether they've gone to the police or not. We know there's lots of barriers there to reporting. And also we're a third-party reporting centre as well. So if somebody decides to, that they don't want to go to the police yet, it's happened in the neighbourhood, they're a little bit worried about repercussions, they just don't know what they want to do yet, is we can actually take the report for them and we can submit it as a third-party report as and when they're ready. If they're ready, if they don't want to go down that route, they can still access lots of support anyway. So we're independent from the police, but can work quite closely with them. So we can also act as an advocate for the victim as well. So if they feel the police are not doing what they should, or the communications is quite poor, for example, then we can act as an advocate for police, housing, any agency really. And then there's a wide range of emotional and practical support there for, for people. Like I said, depending on what they need, some people phone us up and they just want to be heard, they just want somebody to know what's happening, and that is absolutely fine. And other people need longer term support to help them to overcome those impacts, particularly those health impacts too, and we can offer that too. We can offer out personal safety and home safety devices if people need it to feel safer. We can offer other practical support as well. There was somebody who came to us and they lived in a private house, they owned their house, but during the course of the hate crime, their front door had been damaged, and they couldn't afford to pay for it. It was only their responsibility because it was their private home. So we actually costed it up and fixed it for them. So it's not something we commonly do, but it is, we do have pots we can access, I suppose, for, you know, for much more bespoke, you know, support. But it is really, you know, geared around that person's experience, what they've gone through. You know, they're the experts by experience. You know, we can tell them what's on offer, and we're just led by them really in terms of what they want to access. So we've been able to offer counselling and that kind of things as well. And we've got a great space online called My Support Space, and that's a great kind of online resource for people who don't really want, you know, the interaction of a caseworker, etc., but want a couple of tools to help them to work through what they've gone through. And, you know, it's geared to people who've been victims of any crime, and there's lots of resources, you know, there. And we go into that in a little bit more depth in the kind of fuller training. So that brings me to the end of the kind of the key information I suppose I wanted to share with you today. So you could probably guess that I could talk about this for a week to you. So I've carefully selected, I suppose, the bits I think might be more useful to you, you know, than others. But in terms of, you know, what you can do to help, you know, what you can do to help, you know, victims and witnesses of hate crime is, you know, there is that free training on the 18th. It's only, you know, it is only 2 hours, you know, so you're more than welcome to book onto that. And like I said, we have a bit of a deeper, you know, insight into some of the stuff that we covered today, and it's more time to chat and, you know, talk through issues as well. You know, Hate Crime Awareness Week is on between the 9th and 16th of October, so we are running a number of that kind of things going on in that week. We're going to be publishing a calendar soon. If you have anything going on, let me know by the end of this month if you can, and we'll include it in the calendar, even if it's just a bit of promotion. You know, please do, you know, kind of let us know what's going on, and I'll make sure it's included in the calendar then that's going out. But we're also publishing a comms package as well. So if you're an organisation that's got access to social media and you want to take advantage of our the communications package, then you can certainly have access to that. It's again free of charge. You know, there's plenty of things that you can just copy and paste tweets if you know, if you need to. You don't necessarily need a comms team, you know, to be able to, you know, to access it. I've got a number of sessions on tomorrow as well that have been spread throughout the day, which is just about an information session about Hate Crime Awareness Week. So if you think that you might want to get involved in Hate Crime Awareness Week, but you're not sure, you know, what it's about or what you can do, you're more than welcome to come to one of them, you know, tomorrow. And what I'll do is I'll post the booking link. I'll dig it out now and I'll post it into the chat. So if you want to book onto one of those tomorrow, you are more than welcome. And the other thing that we can do, I suppose, as well is, you know, sign up to the Hate Crime Charter and have a discussion with us about how you can, you know, take further positive actions, I suppose, to support, you know, victims and witnesses of, you know, of hate crimes. So we'd really love to engage in a conversation, even, you know, if you decide not to go down the charter route, you know, for whatever reason, we'd still love to have a chat about, you know, what we can do to improve the environment out there. So thank you. Oh, Jen, you're a star. Thank you so much for that. She's popped it in the chat. So yes, that brings me to the end of this presentation. A bit sorry about the PowerPoint. I don't know why it wasn't clicking through properly, but I'll send it over. But we're probably a bit disappointed by, you know, the slides. Like I said, it's not death by PowerPoint. There's just some key information, and you'll have the data on there as well. But don't forget that in about 2 weeks' time, the new data, you know, comes out, and I'll certainly be sharing it with Jen to share further, because we'll be shouting quite loud about what trends the new data shows. So thank you so much for listening to me rabbit on for about half an hour, and I believe the floor is open now for questions. I'm just going to have a little look in the chat, because I know we've had some through here. Okay. Is there a specific training session for people with learning difficulties, disabilities? Yes, so we do. I mean, it depends on the group and depends whether we're the best people to do it, but we do have a unit that we can deliver with groups that have learning disabilities, and what we tend to do is talk to the provider, you know, whoever the kind of organisation, you know, supporting them is, just to work out what's the best fit, you know, because we know that different fits can be best for different groups. So absolutely, if you want to, you know, discuss that any further and what the options are, just, you know, pop me an email and we certainly will. So how do we get the sign up form? So I think Angela is up for the charter. If so, then I'll be sending that to Jen. I'm just going to make a note to make sure we send that over. Yeah, so I'll just send that over, and if you've got an organisation that you want to sign up to the charter, then you're more than welcome to just fill in the form, and then we'll be in touch. Okay, so yeah, sorry, there's no data on the screen. Are hate crimes included in the hate crime data? So only where there's been that hate element and a crime has happened. So yeah, hate crime is a really, really interesting area, and we do actually deliver a separate 1 hour session on hate crime, because where we see the crossover, of course, is where it crosses over with disability hate. So where you've got that hostility or prejudice towards people or somebody who has a disability because of their disability, it can be really difficult to prove. There's no actual crime type that's called hate crime. It's only where it sits into other kind of areas of the criminal justice system. So again, that's quite a big gap, isn't it? That's because we see kind of counterfeit friendships and relationships happening in quite a wide spread. Cuckooing is a recognized area that the police focus on. Relationship fraud, all those kind of things are all about those counterfeit relationships. So it's not a particular crime type on its own, which is very frustrating, but the crimes that happen within those counterfeit relationships can certainly be, justice can be brought, but also police forces will act where they see a dangerous, even if it's just a warning or something like that. But it can be, for vulnerable adults, it could be a really, really difficult, challenging, arena. And the research does show that young adults with learning disabilities are far more at risk of hate crime than any other group as well. Can you send the contact details for equivalent in Gwent? Yeah, if you pop me an email with that question, I will certainly send that over, no problem at all. Jen, thanks for popping my email in there. Does Victim Support employ trained independent professional advocates? So I know that's a really good question, actually, Sue. So I know that our team members are trained as advocates, but whether we don't employ external independent professional advocates, if that was the question. In terms of our advocates, so we are funded by Welsh Government, but they are independent in terms of what they can pursue and how they can pursue it. We do work closely with the police, but we are an independent charity. And in Wales, what happens is Dyfed Powys particularly, other areas of victim support for other crimes go to an organisation called Galady, which is based in headquarters in Carmarthen, in the police HQ, but anything to do with hate comes to us, and that's because there is recognition at the highest level in Welsh Government as well that there are massive, significant barriers to people reporting to the police and accessing support, and that's why our service is commissioned, so that we can offer support to people who don't go to the police. We can become a third-party reporting centre and submit those reports on somebody's behalf. We can advocate for people with the police, and we do. I was going to use a nasty word then, but we do provide constructive criticism, to put it that way, to the police as well, where they don't do what they're supposed to do, when they don't do what they've committed to do in terms of hate crime. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but if it doesn't, please pop another one in the chat there. Jen, thank you for popping the link in as well. Angela, do you use easy read literature? Yes, we do have some. In my opinion, not enough, but we do have some around hate crime and hate crime. So if you want to access any of those, just pop me an email and I'll send you over everything that we've got. Yeah, Jen, thank you. Link again, wonderful. Do you go into schools and do schools sign up to the charter? So interesting question, Jackie. So we are in conversation with a number of schools. There's one in Powys, and you have to excuse me, I've just completely forgotten the name of the school, but we're working with the PC Graham Skirm, we're working on a project of kind of young people champions within the school. So our service is mainly for adults. We can offer a service to children, but we have to get parental permission. But we certainly do, where we can, go in and do work with schools. And I think we might see our focus change with the release of the research today now, in terms of that big gap, in terms of schools. So if schools want to sign up to the charter, absolutely they can. I know this school that we're working with, or will be working with soon, are certainly looking at signing up to the charter. So they certainly can, and whether they want to focus on what they do with the children, or with staff as as well as entirely up to them. And also as part of Hate Crime Awareness Week, we are actually releasing a unit on Hub as well, that's going to have some background information. There's going to be a quiz on there that could be a classroom or family activity and that type of thing. So absolutely, we want to do more work with with schools. So thank you for that. Is there further training you could recommend for people, small organisations who work with young people? I would certainly recommend our Mate to Crime training, just because there is a bit of a focus on learning disability, but also, when we've worked with youth organisations delivering it, they've raised that actually they've seen a lot of kind of transferable issues to young people's vulnerabilities as well. So certainly, please do, give us a shout if you want to come on that. And Carol says, I work with Credi supporting unpaid carers. Do you have information stats on hate crime and carers? Now, I don't, only because the hate crime stats relate to those protected characteristics. So the nearest we'd have would be on disability rather than carers, because the data collection process is focused on the protected characteristic. But absolutely, if you've actually got a group of unpaid carers and you want a small hate crime sessions, so they're better armed in terms of their kind of loved ones, I would absolutely love to do that. I'm an unpaid carer as well, so I would really love to to do something like that and talk to to other unpaid carers as well. So if you want to do something like that, to please give me a shout.
Yeah, I will do, because it's an unusual situation being an unpaid carer, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Looking after children, or children looking at young people looking after their parents as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And often you're unofficially their advocate, as well. So yeah, after knowing what's out there and what resources and support is out there, absolutely. And even, with our service, we do support people on the fringes of the protected characteristics as well. So, if a carer, phoned our service and said, look, the person I care for is disabled, they've experienced a hate crime, they don't want to go through with, reporting or anything, but I feel so affected, absolutely our service would be available to them. It's for both victims and witnesses, as well, because we understand that those, it's entirely up to that person individually what they want to do. But if somebody else close to them that's affected by what's happening wants to access some particularly emotional support, then absolutely that's open to them as well.
Something I just wanted to quickly say as well, you mentioned youth before. I used to work with youth. I've done a lot of projects with youth in the past.
Yeah.
Quite often they will tell the professional who's working with them something they don't want parents to know, because they don't want to worry them.
Yeah.
Or worry siblings, or cause problems as well. And that swings round into hate crime, doesn't it? The feeling that family will be bullied. But
absolutely.
by telling a professional, quite often it sits in a different place for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And our door is open for professionals in those situations who want a bit of advice. Obviously, like I said, to support children, we've got to have parental permission. So if the young person hasn't gone to a parent, that can be a bit of a barrier for them accessing support themselves. But we can certainly support the professionals to provide the right kind of response and know what information they can they can offer. So we have offered training to youth group staff, and things like that. And we're more happy to to do that if anybody's got a group that they think the staff could do with a bit of information about hate crime, as well. We'd be more than happy to do that. You're welcome. So will the VS advocates provide practical assistance to an individual wanting to make a complaint about the police? So Anna, I'm not sure what you mean by practical assistance, but we can certainly, it depends on the individual. So if somebody, say for example, somebody's got literacy, low literacy, but they want to make a complaint, then I'm pretty sure that that our victim care officers would scribe for somebody to make their complaint, if that's the kind of practical information support you mean. But certainly if somebody wants to make a complaint, we pass them straight away the information that they need to to be able to do so. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but feel free to come back to me if it hasn't. Oh, thank you very much, Ali. That's great. Is there a hate crime officer police in Powys that we can get in touch with? Thanks, Graham. So in each police force has made like a different response to how they want to approach hate crime. So for example, up in North Wales, the the hate crime officers there, it's quite a small group who deal with hate crimes. But in Dyfed-Powys, what they've opted to do is to spread that knowledge wide. So we've actually got over 100 hate crime officers across Mid and West Wales. So I have questions about the level of training and stuff, but you know, I'm working with the police on that one. So I got, that's probably a conversation for another time, but yeah, so there are a wide range of hate crime officers. Excuse me. Your best bet is to get in touch with the neighbourhood policing team, and they'll be able to tell you who your local hate crime officers are. There are also some specialist hate crime LGBTQ plus officers as well. I've had extra training in LGBT, you know, as well, and they tend to be fewer in number, you know, in each county, but they are there as well. So yeah, your hate crime support officers, your best bet is to get in touch with your neighbourhood policing team. I couldn't tell you offhand who they are, because like I said, there's over 100 of them in you know, in Dyfed-Powys. So yes, that's your best route. So I see somebody mentioned about Gwent. So yes, so in terms of our hate crime officers, we've got one specifically for Gwent, you know, because we found that Gwent was a bit of an area that wasn't receiving a lot of attention. So we took the opportunity when a colleague left to split the roles. There's some specific attention happening now on Gwent. So yeah, if you just ping me over an email, I will send you, I'll introduce you to my counterpart who works in Gwent. So that's all the questions in the chat. So we've got another 10 minutes if anybody's got anything else that they want to ask or raise or talk about, or anything I've mentioned about the information sessions tomorrow, or Hate Crime Awareness Week, or the Charter, or anything. The floor is open. You're more than welcome to take your mic off mute and ask verbally, or pop something in the chat.
Could I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
They'd be sort of quiet, so I thought.
Sorry, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Can we access any of sort of like video training online through yourselves as well? Is that available?
Do you mean just like an e-learning
type thing? Something like that.
We don't at the moment. But what we're doing as a team is we're really exploring different options. We prefer, where possible, to hold live training, only because people tend to be a little bit more engaged, although the peer pressure is there to be a bit more engaged, if that makes sense, rather than, you know, I think what we're afraid of as a team, I suppose, is an organisation saying, yeah, we're going to send all our staff on training, and then everybody's just got it in the background while they actually get on with work, rather than, you know, kind of fully giving yourselves the chance to absorb it, if that makes sense. So at the moment, our training is all live, but we are exploring, you know, different options where they might be appropriate. And also, you know, so yes, there's that, but also, you know, we've got this session on the 18th, but if somebody can't make it on the 18th, you know, that date on the 18th is exclusive for all of you, you know, for PAVO, but we do have other dates, you know, coming up as well. So if you can't make it on the 18th, but you really want to come, you're more than welcome to look at those other dates as well. But yeah,
at the 18th.
Yeah,
I was thinking more of being able to perhaps, you know, show what you've been talking about now, for someone to be able to watch it and then talk to them, and, you know, just be able to, rather, because it's not always possible for a small organisation for lots of people to come, because it's time out, isn't it? And
that's very true. Yeah, definitely, that's very true. Yeah, it's a really good suggestion there, Carol, actually.
Yeah, perhaps for people who've attended, having it as a almost like a refresher to go through again, but also be able to sort of share it with somebody else and say, look, this is what I was talking about, listen to this bit, or something like that.
You're more than welcome to share this morning's awareness session with your colleagues, Carol. That's, you know, that's...
I was just about to say, of course, this is being recorded, so people could have access to that.
And if we can record the training on the 18th as well, then there's nothing to say that you can't share that with the rest of your organisation as well. That's perfectly fine.
Okay,
I completely understand it's not easy for everybody, and days and times and work patterns. So yeah, please just share. It's not a problem.
And especially home working. Now, it's nice to be able to do it online, but you haven't got a few people perhaps watching it together and being able to sort of share immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like reflecting on it from a professional point of view as to which bits we want to follow up more, which bits need more training on.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Carol. There is a little video on hate crime, but I'm thinking about it, it's probably not, wouldn't fit what you're talking about. And you know, as Jen said, this recording can go, you know, wherever, and you know, share it with colleagues. But I think you've raised an interesting question, I think, for the hate crime team itself, and I'll certainly take it back to the, you know, to the team to look at what our thoughts are on, you know, like you mentioned, like a little bit of refresher content as well, that doesn't need to be live, but you know, a small video resource to share. So yeah, really good
what I've always found with young people as well is when they're talking about anything, if you've got something you can show them on an iPad or a phone or something they can look at, you can start talking about it. And then if you know that young person well, you've worked with them for a while, you can pick up that the things that are actually perhaps they're not telling you by the way they're reacting because you're sat with them. It's the same with adults as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite often they want to just whiz past that bit that actually is touching a nerve. So you know, you can park that and think, I really need to start getting to find out what's happening there.
Yeah,
Certainly a thought, that's all, that it might be quite useful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've made lots of notes, so I will. As I said, I think, you know, because as I mentioned, you know, we're always reviewing what we do, and we're always, you know, we're refreshing our hate crime training itself now, because we want to make sure it stays up to date and fresh and engaging. So I think that's a really good point about some refreshing, like you said, just a little video that for young people as well.
Yeah, something just shorts that you really do need to ask more, perhaps.
Yeah,
but it sort of starts that thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the young people's research that's come out today, and like I said, I will send it over to Jen to share with you all. I think that will start raising questions about what resources are out there for young people as well.
Because obviously there is a young carer part of Credi as well, which is run by Sally and Dux. They run that. We do a lot with them. So I haven't had a chance to talk to them to ask what do they have in their arsenal, because they must meet a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, it would be great to stay in touch over this. If you want to just ping me an email.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cheers. Thank you.
You have got some good resources on YouTube as well, though, Becca, haven't you? You've got some short videos on YouTube and some great things on there as well that are really useful as that prompt, as that starting point, that talking point.
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
really useful resources on there.
Yeah, I think we probably need a review to see what's still, because the videos tend to hook onto some stats. So the stats side might be out of date, but certainly the videos themselves still might be useful. Absolutely. Thanks for that, Jen. So 2 more questions before we finish. So do you have involvement to improve systems within the police force through the OPCC? So we work directly with the police and with the Police and Crime Commissioner as well. So we do, you know, we regularly meet with the hate crime lead in Dyfed-Powys Police, and we've supported them to develop a hate crime risk assessment, because before they were just using like an antisocial behaviour risk assessment, which isn't going to fit, you know, every situation. So we've worked with them to develop that. So we do regularly meet with them and challenge their processes, because quite often, you know, it's not a criticism of the police, it's what they see. You know, internally they'll kind of bring to the table an idea of what's happening out there, and we're able to go back and say, actually, this isn't working and that isn't working. And we're developing some training now for their hate crime support officers to start off with, and then also all their PCSOs and their police, their PCs as well, around understanding, you know, hate crime from a victim's point of view, which I think sometimes is missing in process and procedure, isn't it? So yeah, absolutely, yeah, we do. And also, are you connected to True Vision, and do they represent Powys, as they have videos on hate crime? Yes, so I believe we are connected with True Vision. I don't know if they represent Powys. That's something I don't know, but I can certainly look that up, you know, for you, Graham. But we do have a relationship with with True Vision, absolutely. And it's a good point about their videos as well. So if anybody's looking for resources, want to note that as well, the videos from True Vision. And what we tend to do, I mentioned the communications package for Hate Crime Awareness Week, is we tend to pull together some useful different videos and social media tiles and stuff as well. So we'll share that wide as well when that's available. We're literally just waiting for the translation to come back, and then that's available as well. There we go. So we've come, I don't think there's any other questions there. And we've got, oh, just 1 minute to spare. So I think, I know some people have to dash off for other meetings as well. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you, everybody, for sharing your time today. Like I said, I will send the PowerPoint over and any other information that I've mentioned today as well. But do feel free, if there's something that we've discussed today and you want more information, or you just want to start a conversation about it, please do, just pop me an email and I'll be more than happy to to talk to you. So please do, that door really is open. I'd love to continue these conversations a bit further. But yeah, thank you so much for your time today. You've been a wonderful group, and I'm really pleased that Jen and the team have managed to keep pushing this forwards as well, and it's great to be putting this on today. And also the hate crime training as well, don't forget to book that on and share that as well, and hopefully I'll see some of you on the 18th.